We had a horrible mass shooting here in the United States over the weekend of the kind that makes national news. Think about how sick a country we have. Think about how severe and intractable a gun violence problem we have. That we have mass shootings that make national news in the United States and then mass shootings that don't make national news. Two different categories. This particular mass shooting took place in Jacksonville, Florida, at a Dollar General store. And this will then pull in Ron DeSantis showing up and getting booed, which we will talk about on the bonus show today. CBS News reports 3 killed in racially motivated shooting at Dollar General store in Jacksonville, sheriff says. 3 people were killed Saturday afternoon in a shooting that authorities say was racially motivated. The suspect died by suicide. In a news conference, the sheriff of Jacksonville, T.K. Waters, said the suspect, described as a white man in his 20s, went into the store, opened fired, killing 3 people. All three of the victims were black. Walters said he targeted a certain group of people, and that's black people. The suspect then died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Suspect was wearing a tactical vest and mask, had a gun and an AR-15 style rifle. There were swastikas on the gun. And as more and more has been investigated, the suspect authored several manifestos, including one to his parents, another to the media, a third to federal agents. By the time that folks started looking into his computer, he had already started shooting. The gunman's journals detailed his disgusting ideology of hate. The gunman disclosed that the shooting was racially motivated. He hated black people, acted completely alone, was not believed to be part of any large group. Listen to this. The shooter was previously involved in a 2016 domestic incident for which he was not arrested. In 2017, he was committed under Florida's Baker Act, which lets law enforcement and certain medical personnel involuntarily institutionalize people who could be a harm to themselves or others for 72 hours. This is being investigated as a hate crime. So a few different things. Of course, we are seeing the exact same dog and pony show from the American right wing that we see every time this happens. There is a shooting in general. We should really do something about gun laws. No, you're politicizing it and people have emotions running hot and we should just wait. Wait until what? Because there's mass shootings almost every day in the United States. In fact, if you look at the list of mass shootings over the last few days, there was one in Louisville, Kentucky yesterday. There was one in Detroit yesterday, Cleveland, Ohio, Mansfield, Ohio, Pueblo, Colorado, Orem, Utah, Boston, Massachusetts. When can we get a break from the shootings where we can actually look at changing policy without it being called acting out of emotion or whatever the case may be? Okay, by the way, what's wrong about acting out of emotion when the emotions we all feel when we see shooting after shooting after shooting are valid and related to what is happening? But then you see another aspect to this. Because there was a manifesto, because there were swastikas on the gun, because the individual was targeting black people, and it is an obviously race-based hate crime. You see a lot of right-wingers, Vivek Ramaswamy was on TV over the weekend saying, we really shouldn't politicize this. We shouldn't make it about right-wing, left-wing, even though overwhelmingly we see right-wing ideology behind these mass shootings in the United States. And that is always to be expected. We're always going to hear that from them. And the reality we have to accept is if we are going to do something about this problem, and when people say, but David, what would you do? No one policy would prevent every single one of these. Okay, no one policy would. But I've laid out 10 or 12 different policies. I now have half a dozen clips where I do it. I won't take up time here doing it, but I'm willing to do it again at some point. I'll have to, I'm sure. We are not going to get any of these things done with Republican help. It's just not going to happen. They're not willing. They are accepting what is essentially blood money from the NRA. They're just not going to do it. And so we have to at some point realize, listen, maybe Republicans can be worked with on, I don't even know, some foreign policy thing or who the hell knows. But on this issue, the left is going to have to figure out a way to go it alone if we actually want to get anything done. I don't know that that's going to happen anytime soon. Here is the police press conference where they explain all about the motivations and ideology of the shooter.
The Clay County Sheriff's Office, who has been assisting our agency with this investigation, received information after the shooting that the shooter had authored several manifestos, one to his parents, one to the media, and one to federal agents.
Yep.
Portions of these manifestos detail the shooter's disgusting ideology of hate. Plainly put, this shooting was racially motivated, and he hated black people. He wanted to kill niggers. That's the one and only time I'll use that word. I want to be very clear that there is absolutely no evidence that the shooter is part of any large group.
So there it is. And of course, we shouldn't really make it about race or racism. Violence is just bad. Right. But you also don't want to do anything to prevent the violence, even abstracting it from the specifics of the ideology or the manifestos or anything. Oh, well, this is really about mental health. Well, but you also vote against doing anything about the mental health every time we want to do it. So unfortunately, the shootings continue. The deaths continue. We have one political party in this country that is unwilling to do anything other than things that aren't real. What about the doors? By the way, did they ever strengthen the doors? Remember after the Texas shooting? The problem really is doors. We got to fix the doors. Oh, all right. And like, what have you actually done about the doors in Texas? Oh, you really haven't done anything. I gotcha. Okay. Oh, they should be locked. Genius. Wow. Brilliant idea. Now, how about the guns? What about the guns? Are we ever going to do something about that? We're going to have to figure out a way to go around these folks. And what some on the left are doing, I've talked about this before. I have, liberal gun owner friends. What some of my left-wing friends are doing is arming themselves and saying, listen, I know the stats. I know my gun may end up being used against me, or I know that I may end up having an accident with the gun, as they're called. But I don't want the right-wing nuts to be the only ones with the guns. That feels like a race to the bottom. It's both understandable and also feels like a race to the bottom. So I don't know how we do it. I don't know when we start, but this is not going in a good direction, as we all know. And again, I've talked to you about the one mass shooting that made national news. We then have this entire list of other shootings from the last week, most of which did not make national news. And that's a tragedy in and of itself.